I'm Rachel. I'm an alcoholic. Kate, thank you so much for asking me to lead this meeting. So cool already. I'm like so overwhelmed with like everyone that's here for the first time, which I'm also one of them, but I was having so many technical problems. I did not introduce myself. I figured I'd just do it here. But in all the new people and the chips, and it's just like, this is so freaking cool. So I'm really glad that this is here. I would have never known if it wasn't for COVID, really. I have to start off by saying that there are a million things that could go wrong right now. In fact, all of them are going wrong right now. I cannot get the internet to work on my iPad. And of course, I exhausted my cell phone battery before this meeting. So my battery is at 19% right now. I switched to my cell phone because I can at least use this. My 2-year-old is coughing in the next room, which is fucking terrifying right now. Not because I don't think oh, my battery, no, I'm at 10% battery. Okay. Anyway, so if she coughs after I lead, and you don't see my face here, it's because my life is weird right now. But I'm really grateful to be here. I have been sober since October 19th of 2009. I have a sponsor. I sponsor other people in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I have a home group. It's like such a weird thing right now. The area that I live, everything is on Zoom. There's no in-person meetings, so this format probably would have freaked me out if I had been asked to like lead it under normal circumstances. I like wouldn't have known what to do with it, but I wouldn't have even known what Zoom was, honestly. But I'm grateful to be here. And a little bit about myself is that so I'm from Virginia. I grew up right in Northern Virginia, in like this little poor, low income nook in the middle of this wealthy area, right? And so my entire life I went to school with kids that dressed better than I did, had bigger houses than I did, had more successful parents than I did, you know. I grew up very poor and felt very different, you know. And I hear people say that a lot, and I say it because it's one of the first things I related to when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I also hear people talk about how they grew up in the life I wanted when I was a kid, and they also are alcoholics. So my circumstances don't make me alcoholic. My circumstances set me up to enjoy a drink. and I you know, I was just like very different. I was you know, my home life was not the greatest. My mother and pretty much everyone from her family, it's a long line of people with anger issues, like severe anger issues. And my dad, although my parents were married until the day that my mother died, my dad was not around. When I was a kid, my dad was consistently, he worked nights. So 3 to 4 nights a week, he wasn't home because he was at work. And then the other nights of the week, he was not home because he was either fishing or hunting or doing one of his hobbies. And he just wasn't around. He left me and my brother in a house with somebody that couldn't keep her hands off other people, you know. And so again, I don't say that because I think that my mom beating me as a kid made me an alcoholic, but I really needed a drink. Like by the time I drank, the relief I got from that was like something I had never experienced before. This is gonna get dicey. I gotta hook my phone up, you guys. I'm just gonna hold it, and it's gonna be annoying. I needed that drink so bad, you know, and I don't know what happened. It wasn't like an aha moment for me. I was 11 years old. I stole a few Budweisers from my dad's fridge and
God, I wish I could turn off all the notifications on my phone. This is so annoying. I'm very easily distracted. And so anyway, I stole 3 Budweisers from my dad's fridge. They got warm. They were warm by the time I drank them. Me and my friends drank them, and it just wasn't anything exciting for me. It was exciting to break the rules. It was exciting to do something that, it was just exciting to be bad, right? Because my whole life, if I broke the rules, I was severely punished for it. And this felt like I was getting away with it, you know, and I didn't get away with it. My very first time drinking, I ditched the empty beer cans in the bush next to my house, like right up against my house. Of course, I got caught. My dad, who may or may not be one of us, I don't know, but has counted his alcohol and marked every bottle for as long as I can remember. So I didn't know that until that day. But so I immediately suffered consequences. But I can tell you that by the time I got good and drunk for the first time when I was 14, I mean, it was a game changer for me. And I didn't feel like everything I said was stupid. I felt like I was funny. I felt like I was a little bit cuter than I was an hour before, you know? There were just so many things about myself. I mean, I really, just when I discovered drinking, I was really, my self-esteem was kind of annihilated, right? And I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I'm pregnant, but I'm like crying right now, which is weird. But my self-esteem was annihilated when I came into when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, yes, but when I started drinking, and alcohol fucking fixed that for me. And sorry, I'm cussing. I shouldn't do that. And basically what ended up happening is from 14 to 24, I drank like there was nothing else to do on this earth, you know? And literally, I remember one time, there's this place by my house. It's called Markoff's Haunted Forest. And it's like awesome. And, but I didn't know. And I got in the car full of people and like, they didn't have alcohol in the car. And I was like, it was like an hour drive from where we were. And I was like, are we going to drink? And they were like, the guy driving was like, I don't drink and drive. And I was like, okay, I guess I get that, right? Like kind of understand. I was like, okay, well, I'll just get a drink when we get there. And they're like, they don't serve beer there. And I was like, where are we going and why are we doing this? Like, I did not understand why we would participate in any activity that didn't involve drinking. Like, I literally just didn't get it. And so that's basically like what my life looks like, you know. If it didn't involve drinking, I didn't want any part of it. And where that ended up taking me is I'm a blackout drinker, not a requirement to be an alcoholic. It's just my story. I blacked out almost every time I drank. If I didn't black out, my friends and I cheered about how great that was. Like, yes, I didn't black out last night. And then like, I remember one time my friends being like, do you remember this? And I'd be like, no. And they'd be like, shit, I guess I did black out, you know? And, but it, landed me pretty consistently waking up in places I was not familiar with faces I was not familiar with, not having known what I did the night before, being humiliated and disgusted with myself on a daily basis, you know. When I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, actually before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I literally showered. I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about like, oh, I was so like such a dirty drunk. I like couldn't even shower. I was such a dirty, disgusting drunk that I showered like 3 or 4 times a day. And I could not wash the filth off of me, you know. And I had friends that boyfriends. I had boyfriends that had kept trying to get sober, and different ones. And I would sit in the car in the parking lot while they went into the AA meetings, and I would drink, and I would make them promise that they would still buy me cocaine after. And I know that's an outside issue. I did it because it helped me drink longer. And it was like magical to me, because I could drink so much longer. I would have longer before I blacked out, and so eventually, when I got in enough trouble, I've got a couple of DUIs. I've got a handful of arrests under my belt. They were all for minor. Well, the DUIs are pretty big here in the States, but especially in Fairfax County, the county I grew up in. But the drunken publics, the like possession charges, like they weren't like that big of a deal. But so I have like minor charges. And so when I would get in trouble, I would be like, oh, this person knows where an AA meeting is. And I went to AA when I was 18 years old. I didn't get sober till I was 24. I went to AA when I was 18 years old, and I remembered that people held hands and they talked about God. And I remember thinking, this is a cult. I want nothing to do with it. And these people are weak, I really felt like, figure it out, like I felt like, don't give up. I remember even like going to one of my court appearances, and my lawyers, and I was like, oh, I've been doing all these AA meetings. And he was like, AA is for quitters. And I was like, fuck yeah, it is, and like I just really didn't understand. I thought it was like a codependent. I really thought it was a cult, and so I continued drinking. And what happened was, when it came time, and now that was probably at a time in my life when I needed Alcoholics Anonymous. I did not want it. I didn't want it at all. I wanted to get out of trouble. But I didn't really care, So fast forward, I can't stop drinking. I have nobody left in my life, nobody. There is nobody that will pick up the phone for me. There's nobody that I have not hurt. There's not one single person in my life that I can call and they wouldn't be like, what do you want? Like every single person I had hurt, and every single person knew that if the phone rang and my name was showing up, that I wanted something from them, and like I said, I was absolutely disgusted with myself. I had wrecked my car. I hadn't worked in years. I was not a functional member of society. I did not see that in my future. And I had been to AA, right? So I had stopped drinking. Now it talks about in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that if, when you want to, I'm going to paraphrase. I don't ever want to try to quote anything because I'm horrible at it. When I wanted to stop drinking and I stopped drinking, I could not stay stopped. And what that looked like for me was a guy that I was dating. I would go into his apartment and I would start detoxing on my own. Do not recommend it. That is not what I would never tell anybody. I would never tell a newcomer to do that. That's just what I did. It's just my experience. It's very unsafe. I made it through. But I would detox in his apartment. It would, and on the second or third day, I'd start feeling a little bit physically better. And I can't tell you what happened, but I picked up a drink again. Every single time. I did this like, God, I don't know, a handful of times, a dozen times, I don't know. But every single time I got up out of that bed and I got to a bar, and I drank. And I didn't want to. I mean, 3 days before that, I was swearing off of it, and so I have this like unmanageability in my life, whether it's my mind or, it's my mind, right? My circumstances don't suit me. I don't know how to handle them. Sometimes nothing's happening and I don't know how to handle that. And my mind always takes me back to a drink. And the other thing that it talks about in the big book is that we have little control over the amount we take. And majority of the time when I drank for oblivion, and I would take a drink And I would, sometimes I would like make a, like one time I made a deal with my friend and I was like, I'm a big beer drinker. I'm here to tell you, you can drink beer. I don't want to say exclusively because I drank a lot of everything. Beer did bring me to my knees. If you are in Alcoholics Anonymous and you think that you might have just drank beer or it wasn't that big of a deal, like I'm here to tell you, beer and my alcoholism destroyed my life. My alcoholism destroyed my life. But my friend and I were like, okay, let's have a beer and then a water. She was like making me a deal. This is like very shortly before she had to exit my life for good, right? Because I was pushing everybody away. I was making it impossible for anybody to stick by me. And we made a deal. We were going to have a beer and then we were going to have a water, and we were going to have a beer and we were going to have a water. This girl is totally normal. She agreed with me when we took that sip of water that it just was not good. It's just like, why are we doing this? It's stupid. I mean, she didn't want to drink the water. She didn't need to drink the water. I needed the water. She didn't need the water. So that was over, and it was like, I would go out with these intentions of, I'm going to be good tonight. I don't know what drinking like a lady looks like. Even today, don't think that's even appealing. Why would you do that? I don't get it. So I never went out with the intention of drinking like a lady, whatever that means. But I went out with the intention of like, hey, maybe I won't black out and sleep with someone's boyfriend tonight. Like, how about we try that, And, or maybe I won't wreck my car. I won't steal from my best friend, any number of things. But I could not control the amount that I drank. I couldn't control consistently the amount that I drank, and if I ever did control it, I hated it. I was miserable. I remember one night I had 8 beers and I was like, this is the worst night of my life, because 8 beers, really, if I can maintain that level of buzz all night long, that would probably be ideal, except for I can't stop there, and when I have to stop there, I have this physical, they call it an allergy, a craving, the phenomenon of craving, I just need more. And I'm going to shut up in a couple minutes. But what happened is I could not stand living anymore, and I knew that AA was not an option for me. I was not going to join a cult. And I tried to kill myself, not once, not twice, not 5 times. I mean, I have no idea how many times. Again, it's like a crapshoot. But I came pretty damn close one night, and I woke up 2 days later after all the pills that I took, and I could feel my body shutting down, But here I was again, failing at something else, and I'm trying to and having to figure a way out of it, And what happened is, I just broke down and I cried and I told my mom I thought I was an alcoholic, and would she take me to Alcoholics Anonymous, because I didn't drive anymore at that point. And she took me to this clubhouse by our house, and I started going to meetings there. And I didn't stay sober. I went to Alcoholics Anonymous for 2 years. I went to meetings every single day. But I had these walls up. Like, I really felt like I just had learned not to let people in when I was out drinking, don't tell anybody about these certain thoughts that I had. I knew that something was not right with me, and I hid it. I hid it as much as I could. And what that looked like when I came into AA was like, I couldn't be honest with anybody. And so I went to 7 meetings a week. I went to a meeting every single day. And sometimes I would leave those meetings and I would get drunk. And sometimes I would leave those meetings and I would go home, and go to bed. I wasn't doing anything else in Alcoholics Anonymous. I wasn't working the steps. I wanted nothing to do with God. And I wouldn't tell anyone I didn't want anything to do with God because I didn't want to look bad. So I just kind of came in here and pretended like I knew what was going on. And like I was down with it, instead of like saying to a sponsor, why or how or what do I do? Like asking for help, really. And so for 2 years, I came into AA and I drank and I lied about it. I would come back the next day, and I just wouldn't tell people. And I celebrated a year sober at my home group, and I had like, I don't know, maybe 3 months at the time which was actually the longest I had ever had, but I didn't have a year, and eventually I drank again, and I called people in a blackout, people in Alcoholics Anonymous, which looking back on it is like, I can't imagine getting one of those calls from someone really close to me that's just like so nonchalantly like, oh my God, I'm drunk and I've been lying to you guys this whole time, but that's what I did. And but my journey in Alcoholics Anonymous started then, and I wish I hadn't spent so much time talking about how much fear I was in that I was going to get cut off during this meeting because my phone was going to die, because I would like to tell you guys about sobriety more. What I can tell you is that I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, and after, when I finally got honest, I got a sponsor. I honestly worked the steps, and I can tell you that AA has changed my life. Absolutely through and through changed my life. And one of the biggest things and the biggest reasons that I feel like there's proof in the pudding is that like I made amends with my mother, who I briefly mentioned. Like, our relationship was not good, and I don't excuse any of my mom's behavior. She was doing the best that she could, but it wasn't very good, and I had a lot of resentment and a lot of anger towards her. And I was able, because of Alcoholics Anonymous, to build a relationship with her and forgive her. And that doesn't mean, if you're new and you hear me talking about this and like letting someone off the hook or letting them get away with it, or there's a lot of things that I think when I say that out loud. And really what I can tell you is that anger made me drink for a long time, and it made my sobriety really difficult too. And what I can tell you is that because of Alcoholics Anonymous, I experienced freedom from that. That was the biggest resentment I've ever had in my life, and I have experienced freedom from that resentment. And from that, talks about also in the big book that resentment is our number one offender, and it kills more alcoholics than anything. And so I can't live with stuff like that, right? So my point in saying that is that since Alcoholics Anonymous has helped me get through that resentment, I know that I can get through anything here. And on top of that, not only did I get through that resentment, my mother became my best friend, which is insane. And then when she died from cancer 2 years ago, and I got to stay sober through that, and I can tell you, I've been through some weird stuff throughout my sobriety, and AA has always been consistent, for almost, God, October, it's going to be 11 years since I took my last drink. I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous for 13 years. But Alcoholics Anonymous has always, always, always been there. And I do think about drinking occasionally, sometimes something happens or like a commercial come on, there's this like new, I don't know, I just really love the commercial for this one thing that's out right now. I feel like, whatever, I'm not going to say it, it's like too outside issue, but I like love the commercial, and I'm like, if I was drinking, I would drink that. And then I'm like, but I'm not, so it's fine, but like, I mean, I'm an alcoholic. It's like natural for me to be attracted to alcohol. I don't have to obsess over those things. I don't have to throw everything away because I'm uncomfortable today. My life is still unmanageable. I got on this meeting, I didn't even know if I was going to make it through talking to you guys. The thing is, like, that kind of stuff normally stresses me out and I freak out and whatever. And tonight I was like, you know what, it's going to be fine. But either way, I don't have to drink over feeling uncomfortable, and if you get nothing out of what I've said, I don't obsess over alcohol, and that's a result of Alcoholics Anonymous. And everything good and decent I have in my life is a result of Alcoholics Anonymous, and everything bad and difficult in my life I get to show up for because of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm just really grateful. I think this meeting is so cool, and I'm sorry I was all over the place and kind of a crazy person, but Kate, thank you so much for asking me to share. And I don't know if you're supposed to have a topic, but I don't have one, but you guys can share on whatever. There's a lot of people, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Thank you guys.